and he had a very good point. We are living in a very complicated world. Despite having wars, geopolitical challenges with tariffs, despite all those issues, last year is going to be the best year ever in travel and tourism. The best. Why is that? Because the economy is going to grow 3% average, and travel and tourism is going to be growing 7.7. $11.7 trillion. That sounds like a lot, and I like comparisons. If we were a country, if travel and tourism was a country, we would be the third largest country in the world. 371 million jobs, that's a lot. And look at here, please, international spending versus domestic. Because before coming here, I was reviewing the numbers for Italy. And there was a couple of things that got my attention. As I say, not only as CEO of WTTC, but as a former minister too. Domestic and international spending, usually domestic is 3 times the international, globally and in many countries. Very few countries in the world are very successful growing international faster than domestic. And Turkey is one of those. I was very, very impressed with that. I'll cover the numbers. So 10% for every $10 that are produced globally, 1 is the contribution from travel and tourism. But the most important, if you look at all the jobs that they were created in the last 5 years, all the jobs in all the industries, healthcare, manufacturing, finance, 1 of every 3 jobs, 1 of every 3 was thanks to travel and tourism globally. So thanks to the work that you all do here, and thanks to the work of all the leaders of travel and tourism and all the SMEs, 1 of every 3 jobs, which is very important. Now let's look at Turkey. Our numbers might be different than the local numbers because we measure direct, indirect, and induced. So we can understand the total picture. And we quantify 185 countries from around the world in the same way so that we can compare apples to apples, so that we can understand the policies that they're implementing, that they drive investment and they drive growth. I was very impressed with the numbers here, Minister, and I have to tell you, you're doing a wonderful job with all the people here, and as Oya mentioned that, and I'm speaking as a former minister and a CEO of WTTC, we're watching what you're doing, and we're trying to understand what is happening here, because these numbers are very good. 160 billion, the contribution. Now look at the international spending. I say that there were 2 numbers that got my attention. Do you know what is the mix of international and domestic? Very, very interesting. 65% of the contribution is international. That's fantastic. That speaks about the diversification, the great job that you're doing here. What basically is saying that you're capturing bigger spend from international than domestic. Just few countries in the world have been able to do that. Spain is one of those. But you're doing a better job than Spain because your share is bigger. That's excellent, and we need to understand exactly how you're able to capture that so that other countries can learn from the experience here. So international is very big. And of course, the growth, we compare the growth versus the pandemic, before the pandemic, and it's 42% compared to 2019, which is fantastic as well. So we need to analyze, and as I mentioned the minister, the fact that he has culture, he's very fortunate, and he's taking advantage of that, which is great, because people come here just for leisure, but culture is fantastic in this country, because this is a walking museum. Everywhere you go, you find history. You understand a little bit about what's happening in the world because of the origins of Turkey and what happened here. So that is very important. Now, let me tell you also what's driving this growth international. What do we see this from the 30,000 view at WTTC? First of all, some emerging markets. Asia Pacific, Middle East, Africa is driving some of the new demand. We see the growth widening. Before, we were seeing growth basically in Europe, now it's everywhere. Domestic, as I mentioned, is very important for many markets. US as an example, UK, Germany, they depend heavily on domestic. My own country, Mexico, also, we depend a lot on domestic. Premium is the new word. People are looking for premium, unique experiences, more value than volume. It's very important to have those. The value is very important, greater spend. And of course, the experience. That's what travelers are looking. And we see this shift with the new generations, the set. We were talking about the millennials for so many years and the frequent number of travelers. Now the new generations, for them, is a right to be able to travel as they were born with this digital identity. Now, what about the regions? What's happening in all the regions? Asia Pacific is the region that is bringing the most net growth. We see a lot of people coming from this region. Is the large and emerging markets basically are coming from here, and is the primary source of future outbound demand. We will see that, and we are going to continue seeing that in the next 10 years. Africa, very interesting what's happening in Africa. Many challenges with connectivity, infrastructure. However, we see also the population, the demographic that they have might help. Middle East, that you have here also the hubs, very international hubs, one here, of course, in Turkey, that also is competing with the hubs in the Middle East. But that global aviation, these hubs are connecting the West and the East and the South and the North. And what you have done here with your hub in Turkey also is fantastic. Europe is still the largest region in the world. 50% of the international arrivals last year went to Europe or came to Europe. And that's the focus on value and longer stays and premium. And of course, Americas is a big region. But as I said before, unfortunately, one of the countries in America is not growing as fast as the others, and that's impacting. But they depend a lot on domestic. Now, what are the opportunities and the risk for the next 10 years? Where do we see that? Today, 1 of every 10 jobs in the world depend on travel and tourism, and 1 in 3 new jobs. By 2030, it's going to be 1 of every 9 jobs depending on travel and tourism. We believe we're going to be reaching $15 trillion as the annual contribution, and we are going to see more travelers in the next 5, 6 years that we have seen in the last 50 years. Listen to this, more travelers that we have seen in the last 50 years. The question is, what are you all going to do? What are we all going to do to capture some of the share? What kind of travelers do you want to come to your country? What are you doing to capture that share? And as Oya mentioned, this is not a competition. We complement each other. Travelers from long haul, they like multi-destination. The question is, how do we work together? And we have identified some challenges, like the borders, the visas, is still a problem. The workforce, WTTC conducted a research. We estimated that 91 million jobs are going to be created in the next 10 years. But guess what? We have a problem, because 43 million, we're not going to be able to fill those jobs. Why is that? We have a challenge with the youth, that they don't want to come and work for our sector. We have a challenge with new talent. We have to work together, the public and private sector, so that we can avoid this issue. Of course, infrastructure, climate, and destinations also having an impact locally. We ask all of our leaders from around the world, as I said before, what is keeping them up at night? And they came back with this. They say, basically, we need to work on seamless. Why do we still have to wait 1 hour, 45 minutes in an immigration line in an airport? Why we don't use biometrics? How can we have digital identities? If you travel to Asia, you can get an APEC card and go to 21 countries. If you travel to San Marcos, you can have this visa facilitation. People are investing in infrastructure. Here in Turkey is an interesting example of what you have done here with the airport. But we need to do more. How can we have regional visas? How can we make it easier? Why do I have to go to a hotel and provide all the information that I provided to the airline already? Is there a possibility to transfer that and have a seamless experience? Can we work together to make that happen? Future growth. The workforce that I mentioned, crisis, as His Excellency the Minister mentioned, we are living in a world with crisis every day and everywhere. Every single crisis impacts our sector. Should we prepare? What do we do? How can we make sure that we're ready for the next pandemic? Because that's going to come for sure. Have we learned from COVID? So we need to be crisis ready. We need to look at the policies. I mentioned before, there are some great things implemented here that I would like to understand and document those policies and share those with the world. And similar, whatever Saudi is doing, I spent 3 years in Saudi working with the minister and the team, defining some policies. It will be fantastic to share also with you and everyone what's working and what's not working in other markets as well. And then, of course, the long-term stewardship that has to do with this climate. How do we learn from mature destinations that they are experiencing overcrowding, for instance, so that we don't have that in the future and we have community-first destinations? At the end of the day, it boils down to working together, public and private collaboration. And I really celebrate having here exactly that, the public and private sector together. This is the only way to unlock investments, to unlock travel, to the fullest of the potential for the people, the places, and the planet. Thank you for having us. Oh yeah, please count WTTC as your best ally. We're here to help you. We're here to bring more investments to the country. We're here to collaborate with all of you so that we can continue with the successful experience that you're offering. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you once again for your participation. Evet efendim.
Yes, distinguished guests, we will continue with the welcoming remarks. We heard from a very important name in world tourism. And by the way, our interpretation headphones are outside.
Headphones you can have right behind the door if you like. Eğer isterseniz kulaklıklarımızı temin edebilirsiniz. Şimdi konuşmalarımıza
And now we will continue with our welcoming remarks, and I would like to invite the main sponsor, the greatest supporter of this event, a very esteemed name, the General Manager of Türkiye İş Bank, Mr. Hakan Aran, with a round of applause. Welcome, please.
Sayın Bakanım, Sayın KKT
Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, esteemed Governor, distinguished representatives of the tourism sector, dear members of the press, and dear participants, I would like to cordially greet you all. Welcome. Now, tourism is a high priority strategic sector for us. But we are not only attaching strategic importance to the tourism sector as Türkiye İş Bank. We also saw in the previous presentation that it is very important for the entire world, and what we heard from the president of WTTO showed us the greatest contribution that there is to tourism across the world. With $11.7 billion, we are talking about 10.3% contribution to the global economy, and there's 371 million employment created with this sector. Thus, such a sector has great importance for our country too, it cannot be denied. And with the importance we see in our country as well, we have been investing in the tourism sector in our country together with you, and we have $2.2 billion of loan given out just to the tourism sector. And the market share of İş Bank went from 9.38% to 8.6%. That's around 3% market share increase. And if we look at our share in the private sector banks, we have 23%, and this means that private banks provided credits to the tourism sector, and out of every 4 liras, 1 lira came from İşbank, and that shows the importance we attach to this sector. And there is $3.3 billion worth of projects with that are incentivized, and all of this investment can be financed by us. We have the power, we have the capital for it, and we have the appetite for it. Now, yes, we have the power to be able to support all of these investments, but what is the accurate point of investment for the tourism sector? I would like to share my views on that as well, as I am very much part of this sector. Our hotel occupation rates is around 50% across the country. It may be higher in certain regions, the coastal areas like Muğla or Antalya, but generally it's at 50%. So what we need is modernization, branding, and we need end-to-end customer experience reinforcement. So we need to invest in things that will stand out, that will make a difference. That's what we need to find. But if we build just another facility or build the capacity of an existing one, that's not really our priority, because what we really need is that we do some investigation in themes, for example, like there is the golf theme, or there could be facilities that are targeted towards cyclists or tennis players. So we need to make the experience stand out with these different themes, or on segment basis, we need to focus on the youth, for example, and we need to create a new vision that will attract them. And in these areas, if our investors have faith and they take a step, once we do our feasibility works, we will be by their side. And this is not just the case for Turkey. When we look at it globally, those who know this business well, and if they want to invest in Turkey, or if we have Turkish investors that want to invest across the world in popular destinations, then we believe it is important that we support these activities as well, because it is important that we see this game at the global scale. We shouldn't limit our view of the market to the national economy, and in this way we can get a greater share of the tourism pie across the world. So as Türkiye İş Bank, we are not only focusing on investments in Turkey, but we have the same appetite to support investors who want to invest abroad. And don't tourism investors have any problems? Is it all comfortable for them? Of course not. We have a tight monetary policy, and of course this is having an impact on the tourism sector, just like other sectors. We have a cost structure that is increasing by 50%, and there is around 28 points of gap between cost and income due to the FX rate as well. And this is creating alarms for us in the area of rolling capital. And We are trying our best to support investors in this area as well, given we also have some restrictions. And of course, it is also important to preserve the investors in Turkey and all the employees. We need to preserve them from going abroad as well. And if there are any projects developed in this area, we will also be by your side in financing these as well. And as a financial institution, of course, the payment systems is one of our greatest duties as well. Tourists don't have to carry a Visa or MasterCard. If we have a Chinese tourist with China Union Pay card, that card needs to be able to be used in the POS systems as well. And we have a system that supports all payment systems, so any client coming from any country can use their local payment system, and we are able to collect payment through all systems. And also, a sister to culture and tourism is culture and arts. And I believe our support in this area is also valuable, from Laodicea to Tripolis, and we have many excavation supports that we have provided. We have museums that we have opened for visits, and we have opera and ballet festival support that we provide. And also, we have support for tennis. I can add this as well, because with big tournaments, we can attract tourists to our country through sports as well. So basically, we have a multidimensional support for tourism, and tourism really deserves this support. And I would like to state once again that we will be by your side with this vision. And I would like to thank everyone who took part in organizing this event. And I would like to cordially greet you all and wish you all a nice event.
Sayın Aran, biz de size çok
Mr. Aran, we would like to thank you very much as well. This is a massive event, a 2-day event, and of course, our sponsors, our valuable brands are very important for us in this context. And we heard from Mr. Aran also that tourism really deserves this. So tourism, sports, culture, we support all of them, he said. So we would like to thank him once again for all this support, and also for being our main sponsor in this event. Now, we are talking about the potential and the needs of our sector. We heard it from the financial perspective. Thank you again, Mr. Aran. But now let's look at it from the commercial perspective. Istanbul is one of the most populated metropolitans of the world, and we can say that the world's pulse is beating here. So we will hear from the Istanbul Chamber of Commerce President, Mr. Shekip Avdagic, now about Istanbul and commerce. Welcome, please. Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, and Deputy President of the Republic of Turkey Investment Office, Ms. Narin, President of TTYD, board members, all distinguished guests, I would like to cordially greet all of you on behalf of my institution, and I hope this will be a fruitful event for all. Now, Istanbul is a very important city, and we knew the numbers already, but it was declared internationally as well. And I am very proud to be the president of the Chamber of Commerce of a city that hosts the most visitors across Turkey. Istanbul is very multidimensional. Shopping, arts, culture, all of these are very important topics that make Istanbul an attraction center for visitors. And when we look at Istanbul, it has 8,500 years of history and natural beauties, and it will continue to be a very attractive city for guests in the future as well. And Istanbul, in this context, deserves more and more investment, and it provides potential for investors to create massive gains. As the Istanbul Chamber of Commerce, we have the tourism promotion agency, and we are also focusing on the Congress tourism development as well. And Istanbul went from 130th to 20th in rank in terms of Congress tourism, and I believe we will rise higher. So Istanbul has great potential in this area as well. And in the upcoming period, when we look at the Congress tourism, we would like to see events with 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 guests in the future as well. And I would like to thank our Honorable Minister and the entire team in the Ministry for providing us with very accurate and detailed figures, and of course for all the contributions to tourism and their fast response to all problems faced by the tourism industry. And I am sure in the upcoming period, with the contribution of our ministry and the Turkey Tourism Promotion and Development Agency, we will carry tourism to even better levels. And when we look at it, we can see that guests are happy with hotel prices. And when we look at the statistics, the prices in Istanbul are lower than what we see in other metropolitans across the world. And I believe this is one of the most important components that make Istanbul attractive. Yes, we need to increase our potential, increase our bed capacity, number of rooms, but we also need to create concepts where visitors are willing to pay more for these rooms. So we need to make sure that the revenue per room is increased in the future, and that should be part of our prioritized policies. And I'm sure that this will come to the fore in the investments in the near future. And also the Istanbul Fair Center, which we are part of, this is in the Yeşilköy area, and there is a new investment we started that could be attractive to you as well. In addition to 100,000 square meters, we are building another 40,000. But rather than the space here, I would like to add that one space has no pillars, and it is 12 to 14,000. It can host around 3,000 more than 10,000 people in one hall. And in 2 years, we will have completed this. So a very big area that can host 12 to 14,000 people in one hall without pillars. And we want to ensure that we have more tourists come to Turkey through all of these events. And I'm sure with the support of the ministry, our country and the tourism sector will continue to grow, and until 2035, we will have our added value that reaches 110 to 120 billion dollars. And I would like to add one more thing, as I was also the president of the Turkish Exporters Assembly. Now, we also need to look at the tendency for Turkish tourists to spend abroad, and our income increased by 3.5 billion, and the spendings abroad by Turkish tourists went to $2.04 billion. So we also need to develop policies to keep this revenue inside. And this figure is despite all the visa problems, but we can see that the gap is closing up between the spendings that are taking place in our country versus the spendings our tourists are making abroad. So I would like to end my words by saying I wish you all a fruitful event, and I would like to congratulate everyone who put effort into this event, particularly Ms. Oya. Thank you very much, Ms. Çekip Avdagic, President of the Istanbul Chamber of Commerce, and he said very important things. He talked about the tourism in Istanbul, bed capacity, and things that can be done. Now, until now, we heard esteemed guests that addressed this distinguished hall, and they talked about the potential and how we can move forward. But of course, for all of this, we need significant investment, and our country deserves this. Ms. Oya also emphasized in her speech that we have a huge diversity: gastronomy, coastal tourism, cultural tourism. We have all of it on these lands, and that is why this beautiful land deserves this significant investment. Now we will hear from the Deputy President of the Republic of Turkey Investment Office, Mr. Bekir Polat. We will hear from Mr. Polat. Welcome.
Herkese günaydınlar. Sayın Bakanım, Sayın Kıbrıs Türk Cumhuriyeti Başbakan Yardımcım, ekosistemin...
Good morning, everyone. Distinguished Minister, distinguished members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. About 20 years ago, when our office was founded, we had an argument. In fact, every tourist is a potential investor. If people, you know, their most precious is their time, their families, their loved ones, they bring them to a country, so why not bring their money to another country? So this is still a valid argument. The tourism sector is a single sector, but then we follow international direct investment, and it is a catalyst that has an impact on other sectors. So why? In fact, we experience this with our talks with the investors. Currently, I mean, if somebody has never come to Turkey, there is an asymmetry of information between reality and perception. So before an investment, we have a micro agenda, and we want to ensure they visit our country as soon as possible, because when they visit Turkey, they see the superstructure, the infrastructure, the human capital, dynamism, and they see this, that we see that it has a positive effect. Recently, for our country, when we promote Turkey, we say nexus of the world, Turkey. It is the connection point for the world. So it's not just about connecting roots, it's about connecting cultures, people, and economies. That's the position of Turkey. And recently, you know, compared to last year, in the first 11 months, we have $12.4 billion of direct investment, and compared to the first 11 months of last year, there is an increase of 27.6%. But the decision-making mechanisms are changing as well. It's not only about incentives or costs. You need ecosystems. Brand perception is very important. In the medium and long term, there are several factors that serve the brand perception of Turkey, particularly after China and the US. We have the highest number of international mission with our embassies and our consulates. This is an important muscle for Turkey. And second, we have 350,000 students coming to Turkey for education. We're ranking the 5th in the world. They learn Turkish, they go back to their country. So in terms of the brand perception and consciousness, brand awareness, this is very important for Turkey. You know, after the US and UK, we are the 3rd exporter of TV series in the world. When it comes to GDP compared to US, we have we have the highest aid going from Turkey to other countries. So for tourism, for the international investment, these are factors that serve the brand strategy of Turkey. So I want to touch upon our strategy for 2024-2025. We want good quality direct investment. We want sustainability criteria in these investments. Green finance access is very important for us. Of course, the Ministry of Culture has an important vision and policy set. And as the finance office, together with the ministry and the other stakeholders, we try to bring more qualified investors. We will continue to support that. We're always here. I'd like to thank everyone, particularly Oya Hanım. I want to thank all the sponsors and the supporters of the event. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Polat, for sharing your views and your assessments with us. Investment, like we said before, it is very important. Bed capacity, we have a high bed capacity, we have very high service quality, but we always need more because we have ambitious targets, and it's of course the vision of the President of Turkey and the Minister of Tourism and Culture who set this vision. We see our minister bringing a piece of artifact back to Turkey. He makes announcements around that. Sometimes he is part of this ecosystem. He is hand in hand with the people in tourism. We sometimes see him in the Culture Road Festival. We see him in that atmosphere with those people, in that experience, and he is again by the side of the people in the tourism sector today. Now, with your applause, I'd like to invite Mehmet Nuri Ersoy, the Minister of Culture and Tourism, to stage.
Sayın Kuzey Kıbrıs
Distinguished Deputy Prime Minister of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, the distinguished representatives of the tourism sector, distinguished members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, cordial greetings to you all. Our distinguished international visitors, welcome to Turkey and Istanbul. Organized by TTYD, we are in the TIF 2026 summit. It attracts both national and international interest, and we're very happy to be with you, our distinguished stakeholders. Every single year, there is an increasing attention to this strong platform. So not for Turkey, but for global tourism economy, this is an important meeting point. We have representatives from all areas of tourism. We need long-term collaboration, we need strategic partnerships, and this is the platform that lays the foundations for this. So it's going to add strength and value to our sector and to the global picture. So there is a lot of political and geopolitical ambiguity. The balances can shift in a very short period of time nowadays. And in this process, in the leadership of our President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, we follow a determined path as Turkey. We are very clear today. Turkey is a strong country when it comes to managing crisis. It has a strong reflex, and it has created an important institutional expertise. So this resilience is very important. It has an impact on our investment partners, and on our sector. It's not just about figures, it's about vision, diversity, and quality. That's how we've always addressed tourism, sun, sand, sea. We have an approach that goes beyond that. Culture and faith tourism, archaeology, nature, ecotourism, gastronomy, healthcare, thermal tourism, congress tourism, cruise tourism, winter tourism. We have all these areas and we have an all-encompassing product range. So this addresses different audiences. So we have increased our market diversity. We have set targets in certain countries where on TV channels, in digital platforms, on social media. So we have the most comprehensive promotion activities of the world. So we created an awareness about Turkey. It's a very intense and hectic work, so it brings quality tourists and a lot of other gains next to it. So Turkish tourism is now in the Premier League. We can easily say that Turkey is now in 81 provinces over 12 months. So we have a very important success stories and we're continuing to break records. And the figures confirm that the United Nations World Tourism Organization data show that in 2017 in the world, we were ranking the 8th in terms of the highest number of visitors, and in 2024 we're ranking the 4th. And in terms of tourism revenues, again in 2017 we were ranking the 15th, and in 2024 we're ranking the 7th. In 2025, in terms of our tourism revenues, we see that it has reached $65.2 billion. It is the record high for the history of the Republic. Compared to 2007, there is an increase by 109%. Again, in 2025, the total number of visitors was 63.9 million visitors. So like in the tourism revenues, we have set a new record for the number of visitors. In terms of the spending per night of foreign tourists, in 2025, it was $114 on average. This is about high quality tourism and high added value investment strategy. So it's a very important outcome of this vision. So in line with our tourism vision, we have several projects. We have a strong return in the field as a result of that. It's not just regional, but also a global investment hub. Turkey has reached that level when it comes to investment. The distinguished representatives of the tourism sector, as you would know, a strong promotion and communication strategy is a sine qua non for the tourism sector. We have set the Turkish Tourism Promotion and Development Agency in 2019. So in 200 countries, we have advertising, marketing, promotion, and public relations work. As I mentioned before, in the tourism world, this is the most comprehensive and effective promotion movement. CNN, BCC, Al Jazeera, Bloomberg, in those global channels, we have promotion and advertising campaigns. And in 39 countries, we have had advertising commercials in 39 countries, national channels, and we have a Go Turkey platform. It has this international promotion. And in terms of social media, when it comes to YouTube and TikTok, we're #1 in the world, and in Instagram, we're #2. So all the social media channels have a total followership of 21.9 million. So that's not where we stopped. The global tourism understanding is not only about choice of destination. Tourism is about being a part of a story. It's about sharing an emotion. It's about experiencing a lifestyle. So with this awareness, with TG, we have the mini-series strategy developed. We have developed story-based productions with high cinematic quality. So in the world promotion history, it has a place as an innovative and creative approach. We have 4 mini-series put into effect so far. We're going to continue to do so. We'll have new series in place. So in our awareness work, gastronomy is an area where we have priority, that we prioritize. Michelin Guide is world-renowned. It started its journey in Turkey in 2022 in Istanbul, and then came Izmir, then Bodrum, then Muğla, and Cappadocia. They were also part of the guide. 2026 Michelin Guide has the Turkish selection. So there is a total of 171 restaurants in the guide, and the star restaurants number is 17 in the Michelin Guide. And I would like to talk about sustainability as well. The Global Sustainability Council is our collaborator. We have 18,000 accommodation that is certified, and Turkey is one of the pioneers in this area. We are trying to respond to the changing needs of tourism. We improve ourselves, and we are trying and continue to build sustainability in this sector. When it comes to preserving our cultural heritage and transferring it to future generations, I would like to say a few words about that. Our culture and tourism investments support one another. This is the kind of ecosystem that we have set. Now all our investments have a proactive response. So we have this Future Heritage Project. In 2018, we have switched to the 12-month excavation program. In the 100th anniversary of the Republic, we have the first step in the Ephesus region, and we continued our work last year. So within the framework of this project, we have set a record high increase in terms of the budgets spared for excavations. In 2025, there were archaeological work, and more than 15,000 artifacts were found. Anatolia has a very rich past. Museums are very important. We have to own this cultural heritage. That's also very important for tourism. And the ministry has conducted meticulous work. Sardes Antique City in Tepeler Lydia Tumulus has been added to the UNESCO list. So we have a total of 22 assets, and we have the highest votes in the World Heritage Council, and we continue that task successfully. So last year, we have 34,836 visitors of our museums last year. This is a big number. It's like 3 or 4 countries, Europe. You know, it's the total number of visitors of 3-4 countries in Europe. And we have the Night Museum experience. It's about preserving cultural heritage. It has a positive contribution to tourism as well. Last year, between June and October, we had the Night Museum experience in 27 museums. And in Istanbul, we have the Istanbul Culture Path Festival. So until the 5th of October, we continued that experience, but in the Efes region, we extended that till November. And in Galata, we'll continue this throughout the year. Last year, we had 600,000 night visitors. For centuries, we have been bridging cultures and continents and people as Istanbul. Haydarpaşa and Sirkeci train stations are 2 important symbols, and now they're also being part of the cultural heritage. The National Railway Administration, we have signed a contract with them, so we are preserving a holistic approach, and these 2 train stations will be part of the cultural heritage. So we'll have these new arts and culture centers in Istanbul, and we have museums, workshops, libraries in Diyarbakır jail. It's going to be a cultural center now. So we'll have this contemporary art understanding, and Antalya Museum will be a hub in the center with that understanding. Hatay Archaeological Museum is renovated. It's going to be open to service soon. Distinguished guests, in terms of cultural tourism policies and investment decisions, Turkey is an important actor that has an important power. In order to continue this competency, we have to focus on future ambitions and future goals. And right now, for 2026, we have $68 billion of tourism revenue target. We have continued working on that at this point. Again, with our distinguished stakeholders, we're going to reach this target for sure. So I would like to thank you for your support and collaboration so far. And I want to thank all the stakeholders on your behalf. Turkish tourism vision and investment potential is great. We have to communicate this to the world, and this kind of sectoral meetings are of great importance. I would like to congratulate the members of TTYD for this successful organization once again. And I hope that it's going to bring in new collaboration and new investments. Thank you for your attention.
Evet, Sayın
Thank you, Mr. Minister, for your presentation and for honoring our event. So, we have reached for delivering the final opening speech. I'd like to invite the Deputy Minister of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, Mr. Ataoğlu.
hoş geldiniz.
Welcome. Honorable Minister, distinguished participants, distinguished business persons, and esteemed representatives of the tourism sector, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to greet you all with the warmth, love, and respect of the people of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. We are very happy to be part of this very important event in Istanbul, and I would like to thank everyone who gave us this opportunity. As the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, in the past years, when we look at our investments, we can see how important all of this is. When I talk about importance, I am not just talking about the investments that are being done, but the sustainability of these investments are very important, and I would like to thank everyone for supporting us. And the investments that are made in the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus are at a level that competes with the world, with the new airport and with all of the activities we carried out together with the Tourism and Culture Ministry of Turkey and the Tourism Development Agency. We had many videos that were shot, and they took place on various platforms, and we see that the numbers are significantly increasing in terms of visitors that are coming through our land borders and also through our airports. And we also had the Island Cyprus Lounge carried out with the participation of the ministers of both countries, and also with the partnership of Pegasus Airlines. We have around 30 to 40% increase in the number of visitors visiting our country. And besides that, of course, I already mentioned that we have investments that are sustained, and we are also receiving new investors, and there are a lot of initiatives taking place. And in order to be able to respond to these investors, we are working effortlessly. And of course, when we look at South Cyprus right next to us, and when we compare we see that we have many destinations, a history that goes back thousands of years, gastronomy and nature destinations, and of course with all of the videos that we are shooting, we can see that our visitors are increasing. And as stated by the Honorable Minister, we also have our museums and ancient sites open on the weekends and at night. So we are focusing on activities in this area as well. And also we had activities around the tourism master plan that focused on the next decade. And we will be working very busily for this next decade. And as the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, we would like to say that our doors are always open to all investors who want to come to our country, and we will do everything to eliminate all bureaucratic setbacks and facilitate the process. And also, we must state that our youth population is increasing, and they are embracing this sector in terms of job opportunities. So these are things that we are able to deliver on this stage, but we don't have enough time to give you the full experience here. I would like to invite you all to Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus to see everything we have in person, and I would like to thank everyone who contributed to this event, and I hope we will all reach even bigger achievements in the upcoming years. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ataoğlu, for your participation. Ms. Oyanarin, if I could invite you back on stage, please, so we can have our family photo shoot.
I would like to invite Ms. Guevara, please, once again to the stage to mark this day. Ms. Narin would like to present a plaque to you, please. Plaketimiz gelsin lütfen.
Let's ask for our plaque, please, on stage. Yes.
Thank you once again for your contribution, for your participation. Sayın Bakanım, sizi de bir kez daha rica edebilirim.
Honorable Minister, can we invite you back up on stage as well, please? We would like to thank our Honorable Minister once again as well. And can we also have all of our other speakers of this welcoming session to join us on stage with our Honorable Minister and Ms. Guevara Manzo, so we can have a family photo. So once again, we are wishing for a successful event at TIFF 2026 this year. Yes. Destination Future Türkiye Tourism Investment Forum is taking place once again with the leadership of TTYD. And let's invite all the board members as well. Welcome. How are you? Welcome. Yes, our board members, our presidents, and I would like to make a brief reminder, we have a B2B hall, and also at 1 we will have parallel talks, and it will be a more cozy atmosphere, and our speakers will address you. A more small setting, a cozy setting. If we can squeeze up a little.
Efendim 5. senemiz. Türk Tourism Investment Forum 5. senesinde yine
Turkish Tourism Investment Forum is developing further in its 5th year. The targets are big, but we are moving with firm steps. Of course, we have our supporters. We have people who show us the path. So I would like to thank all the participants, the board of TTYD, to TIFF, and all the supporters and organizers. The Deputy Minister of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, our distinguished minister, the Finance and Investment Office Presidency of the Republic of Turkey, Istanbul Chamber of Commerce, President İşbank, General Manager. Thank you all very much for your participation. We will continue with the Davos setup. With the moderation of our Deputy Minister of Culture and Tourism, we're going to be hosting a panel.
Evet, panelimizle devam ediyoruz. Davos düzenine geçiyoruz yavaş yavaş. Şimdi bir kez daha hatırlatmak
A reminder once again. So, together with our speakers, we're going to have parallel talks. So, we have an event where our speakers will be with you. We have another room, our friends will show you the path, and we have our B2B room. There are important talks there. So this is our 5th year. We're in our Tourism Investment Forum. On one hand, we're going to talk about becoming a brand. We're going to talk about new search for finance. The world is changing, and in this changing world, it's very important that we adapt fast. And it's important that we follow the developments in the world closely. So, in this room, on this stage, we have important names listening to us. It's very important what they're going to talk about. More than 300 speakers and moderators will be on this stage with you, and they're going to be addressing you. Our event will last for 2 days. We have kiosks, we have presentations on the stage, we have our moderators, our keynote speakers. They're going to be addressing you. So we have the approval from friends, so I would like to invite the moderator. The head of our panel is the Roundtable of Leaders, Growth, resilience, and the future. Our moderator is Mr. Nadir Alpaslan. It's great to see you again. He is the Vice Minister of Culture and Tourism, and he's going to moderating this important panel. And accompanying him, we have Alessandro Priante, the President of the Italian National Tourist Board. And we have Maribel Rodriguez, International Tourism Advisor. And Sinan Seha Türkseven, TGA General Manager. So we're waiting for the next speaker. That's what it happens all the time, you know, Mr. Minister, when the opening session is over, when we greet of our guests, the beginning of the panel gets delayed from time to time. Welcome, sir.
Evet.
Bakan görüşmesine katılacakmış.
Öyle mi? Peki, öyleyse bir değişiklik söz konusu. Siz
So there is a change. You're always with us anyway as vice ministers. There is a change. Our minister has to attend the B2B meetings. Those are important meetings. So Sinan Seha Türkseven will be moderating this important panel. And our vice minister is going to attend the B2B meetings accompanying our minister.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. So, Ms. Oylum explained, though, just a quick note before we begin. Due to last-minute change, I'll be stepping in as the moderator of this session today. Indeed, I was supposed to be again sitting in this chair, but I was a little bit more comfortable. I was prepared. So consider it a live demonstration of adaptability for myself, and thank you for understanding in advance. I'll do my best to keep us on time, on topic, and hopefully make this an engaging conversation for everyone. So let's get started. Indeed, as tourism boards, investors, public or global institutions, we're continuously challenged with similar questions continuously, everywhere, every time. How do we grow without breaking what makes destinations unique? How do we remain resilient in a world of constant shocks? And how do we design the future, not react to it? These are exactly the questions we will explore today as we discuss growth, resilience, and future. And I am delighted to be with two global leaders. Our first panelist, Maria Isabel Rodriguez Gamero. Am I right to pronounce?
Maribel, that's
Okay.
fine.
So Maribel, can I call it
Yes,
like
yeah.
that? Okay, thank you. She's a global tourism leader with deep experience across aviation, hospitality, and international tourism governance. She has held senior leadership roles at the World Travel and Tourism Council, where she led the expansion across Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America, and has played an important role in shaping aviation in Europe with companies such as British Airways, EasyJet, and Ryanair. Today, she also leads Women Leading Tourism and is a strong voice for innovation, investment, and leadership transformation in our sector. And our second panelist, Alessandro Priante, is the president of ENET, the Italian Tourism Board, and maybe one of the most respected figures in Europe in global tourism policy and diplomacy. She previously served as director for Europe at UN Tourism managing the world's largest tourism region and guiding the sector through the pandemic at the global level. With a background in economics, diplomacy and cultural policy, Alessandra brings a unique perspective on how public strategy, resilience and international cooperation shape tourism's future. So, a long introduction. Again, thank you for understanding, bear with me. And I start. Okay. Alessandra, and I will ask the same question to both of you. The first question. We all, the stakeholders in the tourism value chain, often talk about growth. But we also know that all growth is not good growth. I mean, from my perspective, growth of revenue for the industry stakeholders sometimes does not translate into meaningful impact on local communities. So there are checks and balances in every growth momentum. From your perspective, what defines healthy tourism growth today?
Well, first of all, allow me to just add one small biographical note to the presentation, that me and Maribel are longtime friends. And I think this is very important to remind us that tourism is also an industry of friendship, which is not very common when it comes to the private sector. And allow me please to thank TIFF for having me once again, TTYD, thank you, Oya, for having me for the third time here in this fantastic event. Let me answer to you by, Oya, with your permission, I would like to be my usual sort of, breaking rules type of person, speaking a little bit outside the box. So I think when we speak in conferences, we have to bring value. And I think we need to have a reason for these people to come back from the coffee break. So what I'm saying is that now tourism is undergoing a very deep, profound paradigm shift. It is not anymore where we go, it is why we go. And why this matters, to answer your question. Because when we look at growth from the tourism offer side, I consider travel and tourism and everybody, all of us that work in actually transforming what nature gave us into an outlet to receive, whether it's a vector for connectivity, whether it's a location for hospitality. We're the ones who operate, who basically make you feel that everything is natural, but in reality there's a lot of preparation behind it. But when we think of growth within this paradigm shift, we have to switch the metrics. All of you have begun your speeches referring to quantities. The UN Tourism talk about X% of growth every year. Now I'm going to ask you, does this really matter? Does quantity at this point in time really matter? And my personal answer is not anymore. Because if we also think about it, it's like especially the UN tourism data, which by the way I can tell you from having worked with it, they are a sum up of all our data which we send them. So they basically mirror what we give them, all right? So there is a continuous growth. Now, what is the growth about? The growth is the number of people circulating, but at what price? First of all, is it real? But how are we actually evaluating growth based on that? Because in reality, what we see, I was just reading on the plane coming here of news about Japan. There's a destination in Japan which is now closing borders because they cannot take it anymore, because communities are fed up with the quantity, with the overflows of tourism reaching one destination. Now, some of you, especially working in the hospitality sector, might look at me with a strange eye and say, what are you talking about? I need to fill up my hotel. I need to reach my 98%. I need to sell my tickets. So of course quantity matters. But reality is that we're not living in a time where that quantity has to have meaning, where the why people travel needs to be a main point with the people traveling. So to explain you better, I was talking to my students I made the big mistakes of calling them millennials. They all reminded me they're born after 2000. So I'm like, okay, Gen Z people, sorry. And I asked one of them, and I do that on a regular basis, if you had to go on holiday tomorrow, what would you do? What would be your first actions? And the answer was, I would sit down and ask ChatGPT. But then what would you ask? That I want ChatGPT to advise me a place where I can go and relax. So once again, the why comes before the where. And this is undeniable. We're not going to choose a destination because it's a destination. We're going to choose what we want to do, and then someone or ourselves, we're going to remember that, hey, if I want to do that, maybe I should go there. The Taylor Swift economy tells us that people travel because they want to go and see Taylor Swift. Where's Taylor Swift playing? Let me try Albania. I've never been. There's no conscious choice of, I want to go and visit Albania because Albania, the cultural heritage UNESCO sites. I'm so sorry. I'm just, of course, picking up an example. I'm so sorry from breaking anybody's dreams, but this is the harsh reality.
Alessandra, you have to go where Bad Bunny goes.
Okay, definitely. So that means I'll finally visit Puerto Rico. I have a lot of Puerto Rican friends who invited me there. So what I'm saying is that because of the paradigm shift, now we have an obligation as tourism operators or tourism investors to look at growth in a different manner. How do we offer our tourists the purpose, the why? And how do we make that why a vertical container of a lot of elements, all that the ministers were mentioning, gastronomy, culture, experiences, values, authenticity, uniqueness, personalized, something that is made just for me. So the challenge now is different because we want to keep these quantities happy and stable. We don't necessarily want to increase the number. We don't need a wish-washy change every year. We need repeating guests. We need people that appreciate us for what we do and give us that stability. And this is furthermore important for those destinations that are emerging now that, as Gloria showed us, are coming from Africa or from other areas of the world.
We have to go from, and thank you, Oya, she's leaving, TIF for organizing. And talking about destination actually is what we should be talking, because destinations are now at the center. You cannot work without, putting the destination management in a position where all the stakeholders are working with them around. Before we used to do promotions, now it's more than that. It's having this long-term vision to be able to go from volume to value. And the destinations are really now much more important when it comes to the governance, and the governance that is all around that, to take decisions together that are going to help the citizens to be happy with their tourists. The tourists very happy when they go to the destination. The private sector to be really involved and doing the things that are needed, that are not creating overcrowding or to tackle the digital experience that you need to have before you come. And there is as well a very important part that the destination needs to do is to make sure that there is investment, and not only in the attraction, but as well in the structures. Are you investing in your, in your own city? Are you putting money to maintenance? Are you putting the right water systems to cope with so many people? So you have to really have a good governance to align every single stakeholder. And what do we want to quantify? What is the new rule that we are going to be using? Satisfaction, happiness of the citizens, or the number of people coming? And what is the impact that the tourist is bringing to the society? Because we are listening more and more like people are very unhappy, and the citizens are complaining. Do they know how much do they have because they are part of a destination? So we need to make sure as well that we have a proper narrative to describe what we as a sector are offering to every single stakeholder. And then the measures we need to decide, we need to change. You were saying a change in paradigm, as well the LTTC was saying from volume to value. It's probably time now to define another ways of calculating this impact.
Exactly. I agree with you both. I mean, as you suggest, Alessandra, sometimes at certain contexts, we have to talk about numbers. Numbers does matter. But I fully agree with you. For instance, I do not usually, announce publicly at all, but I usually get the number of repetitive customers and the satisfaction of the visitors. We are investing in lots of surveys in at the borders. What are their pain points, etc. So we usually have to deep dive into that, because at the end of the day, we are in the business of making people happy. So we are trying to realize their dreams. They have a purpose to come to visit your destination, as you suggest. And the important metric for the future growth is obviously to see whether that destination satisfies the needs and the expectations of the guests, the visitors. I agree with you on that. To Maribel, another question, different question. You've driven expansion across aviation, hospitality, and global work with various global tourism institutions. Where do you see the most attractive investment opportunities today? Not only geographically, but that's also part of the question, but also structurally. Are the investors investing in the right geographies or right sectors in the whole value chain?
What we are seeing now is these two things, right? In a way, investors are looking to create destinations, to build new products, to create new experiences, include mixed use, going to tier 2, tier 3 destinations, like for example in the case of Saudi Arabia, they're really creating a new destination, but not only the typical cities, it's all around the country, and they're investing heavily on making this happen. But at the same time, there are countries like, for example, Spain, Portugal, France, where you have to maintain the current infrastructure. So you have to really balance, and in some cases there are some gaps there. You think that, so that's why you need to really have this like super long term. Another gap as well in investment, not geographically, neither structure, is about talent. How do we convince and generate talent? How do we make people to be in love with our sector so they want to work with us? So we have an amazing workforce that is going to be happy to be part of our ecosystem, but at the same time are going to deliver a proper job. Because actually, we don't need only people that are working or are studying tourism, which of course we do, but we need people that know about maths, architecture, we need scientifics, we need people experiencing digital. We really need to make sure that we are as well addressing this gap, and that is as well investment. Investment is all about putting mixed use or creating things. It's about to keeping alive and positioning, because at the end of the day, things are changing. And you have to be diversified. Now we are seeing the experience of the wellness, retreats, we are seeing, the regenerative, so we are seeing totally different things that we used to, how we used to be in the past, and thinking this long term, having a good governance and alignment is really important.
Do you think there is an overfunding or an underestimate?
Never is overfunding.
Never over, always.
I wouldn't say so. I can ask no. I don't think so. It's very important. Actually, more and more, the big funds are focusing in our sector, which is like amazing. It really says that how important is travel and tourism industry, 11% of the global GDP in the next few years, and so many million and trillion of dollars related to our sector. Of course, more and more we are generating the interest of the funds and where the money should be sitting. So it's really good. There is never an overfunding.
Alessandra, you were at the center of Europe's tourism response. It seems like a century ago, but only a couple of years ago. I refer to the response
To
during the-
pandemic.
to the pandemic. Looking back, what did COVID reveal as the biggest structural vulnerability of the whole industry? But the second question, I will ask it together, is much more important. Do you think have we truly fixed that vulnerability, or just moved on and life goes on?
I'm gonna start with the second question. I'm gonna say once again bluntly, no, we didn't fix it. I think the biggest vulnerability, many positive things erupted from pandemic. The main thing being that people realized, ooh, tourism is important, really. So, because we went from 100 to 0 in 2 seconds, but tourism is also the most elastic economic sector, so it was able to rebound. We're talking now in, let's say, 4 years, maybe 3 years after the big thing, but in reality, technically, we're 1.5 years into it, and we're talking normal, as if, and Gloria was even mentioning today, which I fully agree, Italy is the same. Italy had a record year in 2025. Incredible, amazing. So what vulnerability did it reveal? That we took a lot of things for granted, including tourism. We were taken for granted. We'd like the good old wife of 20 years, that the moment that she snaps and she leaves, the husband's like, ooh, oh my God, and who's gonna do this and who's gonna do that? Same thing happened with tourism. Tourism disappeared and people realized, oh my God, there's no tourism. So we had a lot of hotels shutting down. In Roma, still, many didn't reopen. But look at the other side of the coin. Now we have the highest concentration of 5-star luxury hotels in Rome ever being built. So Rome is becoming a luxury destination, not just the, let's say, destination that everyone needs to go to, however, whenever, even if it's a day, hop on a bus, Rome is positioning itself as a luxury destination. So there was a very, very big change in that. When I say why we didn't learn, because I still think we did not interiorize how impactful tourism can be and how better we must work together. One of the reasons people ask me, why did Italy do so well in the last 2 years? My funny answer is always, well, because I became the president of the Italian Tourism Board. But in reality, it's because people in Italy woke up to the fact, because they lost jobs and a lot of stuff, that either they work together well, and I'm talking as well different levels of administration. We are very well known for having one of the most prolific bureaucracies in the world. Andrea here can probably come to me. We have regions, provinces, municipalities, associations. We have the public sector is spread in authorities, right? So the worst and most difficult thing was making them talk together, making them talk to the private sector. So I think we've achieved that. I think that has gotten better because of necessity. But the one thing we didn't learn is that we really need to take the sector seriously, very seriously, especially us mature markets, especially, Spain doesn't count.
People, I say, I'm not mature.
Well, Spain doesn't count because Spain always does it better. But, like Italy, France, Germany, we need to really, really interiorize the reason why we're successful. And let me come to you, Maribel. What you said to me is crucial, is, forging the new talents. She said it right. It's not just about sending them to tourism school. It's about encompassing a sector which needs to be considered a proper industry. That is a completely different look. It's not a service sector, it's an industry, just like weaponry, like pharmaceutical, like shipbuilding or airlines. We are an industry. And in order for that to be an industry, all these people that we want to bring in, they need to have jobs. So when we're training students, the reason why, for example, I have 8 students in the highest level master in tourism management that we have in Italy, 8, is because they think that they're not going to have a job afterwards. So they don't do the master, they don't invest, because they don't think they're going to have a job afterwards. So we need to work harder and stronger, public-private, to make sure that we give hope for future generations, because they really love tourism. And you were giving them an opportunity to work in their own country, not going abroad, not traveling, and to do the best for the country. And we have a great generation of kids. They're fantastic. They're much better than us. We were rebels. We were not listening to anyone. We were going straight for what we wanted. We were, skipping school to go to concerts. So we have a great generation ahead of us. It's our children. So we need to give them the trust, but also the stability that they want. So this is something where tourism really needs to grow.
But you were talking about resilience and if we learn from COVID, and what I would like is to think about something. Okay, it's not that if we are gonna face another situation like COVID, it's when, and really being prepared for that. And there are many examples, not only COVID, because it's boring already, COVID. I think there is, sorry about that, but for example, going back to credit crunch or any other of the 2011, I mean, many of the crises that our sector has faced, what did we do well? What we did bad? What could we learn? For example, in the case of Spain, before the credit crunch and the immobiliar bubble in the country, Barcelona was like, and when this situation happened, Barcelona was doing very well, no problem. Why? Because they have 80% international, 20% national. Spain was pretty much depending on the nationals, and because the nationals were in trouble, okay, very easy, nobody's traveling, so the prices were down and it was a disaster. What Madrid did, it was, okay, now let's diversify, let's look for our new markets, let's don't put all the eggs in the same bucket, no, when it comes to like selection, who do I want to bring? And in the second big crisis, which is COVID, like in Rome, they used the opportunity to refurbish, to maintain, to bring new hotels, to bring new 5-star, but to position themselves in another level, which make it now to be one of the most successful cities in the world when it comes to competitiveness. So let's use those bad things as an opportunity, but as well look back, because we have done that many times, and we have always probably failed, but if you look to the examples, actually WTTC, when I was in WTTC, we did a study to 80 crises. We analyzed, they were coming from natural disasters or political instability, many. And in each of them, it was a very good case that you could then share and learn from it. Anything is similar to the other because it depends where you are, of course, but you can use this like a model and an example to improve or at least not fail.
I fully agree with you. I mean, we have to have our playbooks always, in the drawer, because you talked about Italy, you talked about Spain, and I have to talk about Turkey maybe at this point, because it's not only the pandemics, as you say. There are lots of crises, different than, Italy and Spain. I love my neighbors, but the geographical location of my country. So there are lots of political conflicts, wars, and sometimes unfortunate events like earthquakes, fires, we similarly face. Those are unfortunately the facts of life, and they will never end, they will never stop. So, exactly.
Risk averse. There are, if you go to China or you want to attract people from North America, they are risk averse. So you need to explain what is happening. It's not happening here, but it's happening. There is just 1,000 kilometers. You need to make sure that, you are not caught by a problem and then suddenly you are going to be losing all those tourists that Alessandra was mentioning, that suddenly they were not there anymore and everybody realized, oh, where are the tourists, right? They give a lot of money, a lot of value. We need them.
And you just said, the alignment between the public and private sector a couple of minutes ago. It's obvious that, that's the key to success. Because,
of course.
Every country
Yes.
has different administrative and political structures, but as far as I see at this age, every country is complex. So that alignment is crucial. Where do you still see the biggest disconnect, the gap? And what can be done to close that gap in the
Right.
alignment of public and private
I'm
sector?
loving this conversation because we're only talking about the things that don't work, which is, I love it, because it's very easy to maybe to talk about the ones that do work. Let me tell you one thing. I think we mentioned, I mean, for me, the biggest gap is still this sort of wave through in training workforce and letting it come to the sector. So I don't know whether the solution is to enhance the level of the sector, enhance the perception, work better with public-private and give better jobs or pay rises. I don't know. I don't know. If there's only probably not one, it should be all of it. All I know is that this is a sector of people for people. So if we're missing people out of the equation, we're making a huge mistake. But believe it or not, one of the key elements right now, we're talking, I don't know if you, like semantics have completely changed. No, we don't talk about branding, marketing, promotion videos. We talk about redesigning. We talk about, and we're talking about communities. So people are realizing that objectifying a destination doesn't serve the long term. One of my friends, one of my newest friends, gave me a very good reading about Roma. And she said, I came to your country, it was amazing, I came with a bunch of friends. When I arrived, imagine, the taxi driver, female taxi driver, gave us candies. Is this a service? No. Is this something that you plan as part of the ticket that you buy? No. It's something completely spontaneous, it's free, it's authentic, it's true. What I love about tourism is not only that it's the most human economic sector, but it's also the most sincere economic sector. Turkey, you cannot lie. If you say you're investing in your gastronomy, I'm seeing it. I had one of the best breakfasts. Yesterday we had an amazing dinner. So if you're saying that you're investing in gastronomy and you're giving me KFC, no, I'm not going to come back. And I'm going to think you're a liar. So I'm not going to trust you if you want to give me a message. So my answer to your question is, the gap is still in believing in ourselves as the only really changing force for the future. We have normalized conflict. In tourism, Maribel quoted 80 crises. We're sort of used to it. We're like, yeah, we had a volcano eruption, and then we had the economic crisis, but hey, we're still here alive and kicking and booming. We're taking it for granted that we're elastic. And it's an absolute given, and I think it's great. But I think now the gap is that we must understand, we must embed beyond politics. And I'm talking especially to the private sector, Oya. You must champion the role that you have in changing this world. If there's one chance of peace, it's maintaining tourism alive. Because tourism allows us to have this dialogue, to understand each other, to meet somebody from a different culture who doesn't even speak our language, that just relates to us heart to heart. And this is the most powerful of all tools. And thank you for mentioning Bad Bunny. He actually said it, because the most disruptive things you can do to fight hate is love. So tourism is all about love. And so now the gap is, we have to believe in ourselves that we can do it. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm still sleepless because I watched the game and the show.
Very nice.
It was nice, wasn't it?
The game was, not nice. Defensively good, but of course I was watching the
halftime.
game for the halftime show.
Of course.
To be frank, I think it was one of the best ones in the last decade, maybe the first one, with regards to the message it provided.
Absolutely.
So that's the important thing.
But tourism is that.
Inspiring.
Tourism is exactly that. For example, sorry, just to add one thing, I'm proudly carrying the Winter Olympics symbol. Just a few days ago, we've inaugurated the Winter Olympics. There's nothing more powerful than the message that comes from the Olympics. It's sports, is every country together that competes on something beautiful. And we're so proud that we're hosting it in Milano and in Cortina as the first spread Olympics. I think this, Maribel, makes a change. I'm very interested in hearing your opinion about it. We, for the first time, like Americans were complaining. They were saying, ooh, but Cortina is not around the corner from Milano. Who said it was? Google Maps comes from your own country, so check it out. We are taking you on a journey in Italy. It's the 2 most visited regions in the world who are receiving an incredible amount of tourists who are coming with the excuse of the big events, the mega events like NFL, like, you know, the Super Bowl. They're coming for that reason, and then they're discovering something different, something new, and we're really hoping it's going to bring a long-lasting legacy.
But to contribute to what you are saying, which 100% align, and being always from the private sector side, of course, private sector needs to champion, but we need less bureaucracy, more facilitation. It's not all about doing the work alone, you know, we need to work together. And I would like to have some sort of accountability, you know, what are the things that are going to be doing each of us, like a KPI long term that we all work together. We can have many meetings and, you know, constantly talking about how beautiful and powerful is our sector, but we need to be a little bit more concrete, and we need to have some KPIs that are going to be, you know, achieved. And what I would recommend as well, and that is totally separate, is the destinations like Turkey, Italy, Spain, you name it, DNA, you know, don't lose your essence. When our friend Galia, she was going to Rome and this person gave a candy and she was amazed for that, this is what actually motivates everybody to travel and to go places, to feel what you want to feel. You cannot standardize, you cannot be, you have to be different, because that is what is going to be keeping you, you know, competitive, but at the same time interesting. Otherwise, you can go to any place in the world which is going to be the same Starbucks. I'm sorry about the Starbucks, I like the coffee. But you know, you need to really make sure that your DNA are not lost, it's not lost.
One personal question. I mean, you lead Women Leading Tourism, and recently launched, I didn't know this, the W8 network.
Yeah.
And I think it represents more than half of Spain's GDP.
Yeah, 56%
Wow.
of the Spanish GDP, and probably global as well.
How did, I mean, that diversity in that leadership?
It is very important because, like we were discussing that before, it's not all about, you know, having only women, only men, or, you know, no. It's about having a diversified workforce that is going to be bringing new things, culture. And it's studied. When you have a diverse group, the rentability is bigger. It's normal because you have different point of view and visibility. We created this network just to help each other and not to be here seated waiting for someone to help us. No, we are very powerful women. And it's something that we created to work with men, with our colleagues. We are totally inclusive. It's not about we and you, no. It's about being together. And the KPIs are the same KPIs for you and for me. You know, it's like working together to have more women interested to be having leadership positions. And we went beyond tourism and we talked to the other industries, legal, finance, banking, which were, some of them, they were more sophisticated. It accounts for over 56%. And we have a common goals together. Yeah, I think it's really good and it's a big network, and I encourage everyone, men and women, to be part of any other of those networks as well.
Alessandra, I mean, having worked across diplomacy, culture, and tourism policy, how do you see national tourism boards will have to evolve in the next decade?
That's an excellent question. I mean, tourism boards, Maribel said it in the beginning, it's not anymore about promoting. I honestly, when people ask me, you know, how do you feel about your job? I said, I probably have the easiest job in the world. I have to tell people to come to Italy. Now my question is, do I have to tell you to come to Italy? I mean, you're going to come to Italy anyways, right? So I have to give you the why, right? So tourism boards, first of all, at the moment, they have a very diverse governance. In some countries is a mix, public-private. Some countries like mine is a direct emanation of the government. So we are the in-house company of the Ministry of Tourism. But then a new government is going to come, is going to shuffle things around, change management, do things. So what we need as tourism boards, I think we need to have a little bit more stability in our governance, definitely, to have very clear objectives. So are we in to bring visitors, or are we in to steer the strategy and the vision to make sure that our real destinations, so the single destinations are, you know, keep their DNA preserved, continue generating. So the way that I interpreted my mandate was very simple. Me, I'm not, again, I don't need to promote the main points of attraction. I'm here to promote the lesser known destinations. I'm here to teach, believe it or not, product development to destinations. I have to go to, I would have airlines coming to me and telling me, we have opened flights onto secondary airports, which is what you advocate for, but they're just not working. So I asked the airline, why didn't you come to me first before opening? I would have addressed you like with great passion towards the destinations that were actually ready to receive you. In other words, we are all potentially a tourism destination, but we need to make sure we become one. So what I do is I try to work with destinations themselves and help them understand, so that's why I call it product development, help them understand what they can offer. I mean, we're fine bringing people to somewhere, but if there's no hotel, no restaurants, nothing to do, and people are just not trained, you're just gonna, you know, shoot in the water. So you need to have something that works, and then you build the network. So I work with them, and the other thing that I do is I try to establish the feedback to make sure that we travel responsibly, because many of our destinations, I guess, like many other destinations in the world, suffer from the same thing, which is a little bit, I don't want to call it the word that I don't like, which starts with an over, but because I don't believe in over-tourism.
There are some places which are under as well.
Over-tourism, to me, doesn't exist. It's just bad management. It's like, I'm letting people come, that doesn't matter how many, doing what, I don't care. You know, so that, a conscious approach to that is needed. So I try to make sure that we all have this responsible approach. Do I have a new campaign? No, I don't. Do I believe that we need to have a new campaign? Maybe, not so much. Do I believe that we need to work stronger with AI? Yes, indeed, because of where people are finding their information. So I prefer to be a bit more sort of detailed and personalized, because travel is going to be more and more personalized. So the type of travelers that I want that come to my country are the ones that do certain things. So I want to make sure I'm talking to those engines, to those feeds, and I'm also making sure that, as you mentioned very correctly for yourself, that I keep that human connection with the tourist. Because for how much I believe in social media and everything else, and they're a fundamental part of our promotional strategy, there's nothing more powerful than honest feedback and honest word of mouth. The word that Ghalia is going to give back to her Saudi friends when she goes back, to say how friendly Rome was, is more powerful than any marketing campaign that I would pay to Saudi. But did I make that happen? No, I didn't. So I just need to make sure that the conditions for which that happens still exist. Maribel mentioned keeping the DNA. Indeed, we are hospitable, you know, people. Italians are known to be hospitable. Let's keep it that way, because nobody wants to come to an angry Rome, which is, by the way, the Rome that I know. So I prefer that. You know, people feel like that about my country, because this is what's going to make people return and think of my country as the most desired country in the world. Sorry, Maribel.
No problem. I like it as well.
I needed to rub it in. Sorry.
I like every country.
I was just trying to look for a good quotation from you. There's no overcrowding. It's bad management. We had a chat in Abu Dhabi last.
Yes.
So my friend said, recorded the panel. I had cut that part because there are always coming questions to me. Overcrowding. I always show that mini clip of yours.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for that.
I mean, copyrights, etc. But I'll do that after.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Honored.
And what would be your answer?
Well, when it comes to the overcrowding world, I don't like it, but we need to face it exists. And how do we
Indeed.
manage and how do we do a destination stewardship to make it, people come? Because one thing you need to understand is that everybody wants to go to Paris and to see the Eiffel Tower. Everybody wants to go to Barcelona to see the Sagrada Familia. Everybody, of course, you have to do that, okay? But you need to help them to go to somewhere else. You're telling you are not going to be doing a campaign, which I agree that is more tailor-made, personalized, but you need to show them that there are other parts of Italy that they can go.
Not me. The regions are doing that by themselves.
Because
We're
it's a
just
budget.
facilitating them.
It's a budget thing probably. But you need to open the opportunities to others to know what else is there, attracting to a place, but making them then leave and go and repeat. Because as well, when you have a repeat client, it's easier to bring them back than to catch a new one, and you know how costly that it is. If you have consumers that go, tourists that go every year to Italy, to Tuscany, to Liguria, you can invite them to travel all around the country, and even going back to Fontana di Trevi. Now, by the way, now you are charging, which I don't think is much.
Which I think is
good.
Thank you for that. Thank you for
I think
mentioning
it's
that.
good.
Thank you
I
very
think
much.
it's good.
I mean, people attacking us because you have to pay €2
It's okay.
to come and see Fontana di Trevi. The same people that pay, I don't know how much to go up in the Eiffel Tower. So thank you,
No, or
Maribel,
even
for
to
saying
have
that.
a gelato, no? You
Yeah,
pay
yeah,
for
for
something you want
sure.
to see. And
No,
I think it's a
absolutely.
way to contain the flows, to manage, and we need to use the digital and the artificial intelligence to, okay, you are now in Trevi, but I'm going to have something to see before, because in 2 hours I will go there. So you need to use your time, and we have the digital world there to help us, so why not?
By the way, Maribel, thank you for mentioning that, because it's one of my students actually developed something which is very, very interesting. It's like he developed it imagining that he was supposed to manage overcrowding in Petra, Jordan. So it's like a warmth index that tells you, it's like an app that you have that tells you that if you're going in that direction, it's like bright red, it means there's a lot of people. So as she was saying, which I think is very important, technology gives us solutions as well. And we have to encompass them and, bring them into the discourse, because that's definitely going to help us. We need more data, better data than the quantity ones. We have now AI helps me understand data in a completely different way and in a snap of a finger. We have no more excuse. We have to use those data to reach where we want to reach. So I'm very hopeful, because I think we have it all.
So a lightning round to wrap up. Quick questions, I mean. So one tourism investment trend you believe that is overrated?
Countries and investment trend?
One tourism investment trend, or tourism trend, let's say, concept, you believe that is overrated?
I'm going to have to repeat myself. I guess it was my starting point, is the way, from where to why, which is actually the title of my next book. But it's like the where is not anymore important.
For me, it's like bringing volume without really targeting what do we want, what client do we want to have in our city, in our country. Let's work for that client. Let's make them, approach them. Volume is a little bit under control, So that is very underrated.
Maybe we talked about this a little bit under certain conversations, but one capability future tourism leaders must develop now.
Empathy. For me.
But that's very interesting, is to be definitely to introduce more awareness in their policies. I always say against myself, there should be less politics, not policy, less politics, in tourism, meaning that I think the healthy relationship between public and private is when public really, Maribel was mentioning, less bureaucracy. I'm adding more to that as like facilitating the private sector to operate at its best, because this is a private sector-led industry. So we have to let it happen, but never lose people out of the way. So the governments, for me, they have an absolute mandate, which is to make sure people are never put aside, they're never neglected, and they're always number one part of the discourse.
And one mistake that a destination must avoid in the next 10 years.
That is very, every day destinations will be doing a lot of mistakes. Even you were talking about routes before, when it comes to connectivity, for example, and sometimes you are not even deciding, because it's not even your fault that you cannot get the slot that you want, because it's not even up to them. It's a question of like order, is this disalignment is why it's important to have a vision, a strategy, and try to keep it as tight as possible. It's very complicated because a lot of moving pieces and geopolitically speaking difficult, but it's this leadership of, going together to the same direction.
For me, the mistake is that ignoring other people's mistake. Tourism allows us to see everything, we have the chance to see who does it better. We should just humbly say, okay, look, they've done this, this is what happened. It's not that if I do it, it's gonna work. Probably I should learn from that and, shift a little bit away. So learning from other people's mistake, I think, is a mandatory must. And if you don't, then you make the same mistake again.
I'm asking, indeed very similar questions that takes us to a common theme as far as, I'm evaluating this last 30, 40 minutes. It's all about people, it's all about purpose, it's all about empathy. I think that's the real growth.
And value.
And well.
And value.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can I add one more thing?
My pleasure.
This is often referred to as a luxury destination, Turkey, right? You come here, you have some of the best hotels, some of the best gastronomy, some of the best spa experiences. I personally couldn't agree more. The real luxury that we all have at the moment for the life we live is time. So the difference we make is when we give value to the time that the tourist gives us. So time is of essence. And nowadays, I think, Gloria also mentioned it before, a lot of habits have changed. We don't just travel in the summer. We travel throughout the year. Smaller periods, longer periods. Now traveling is becoming more and more accessible, and it's part of our life. So, but every time we travel, we decide to give value to our time. And we do something very personal. Maribel mentioned empathy. We give our time in the hands of somebody else that we don't know. And we say, make the best use of it and give me something fantastic. That's the expectation, no less than that. Expectation that we all have. Even if we planned our own vacation, we still expect that taxi driver to surprise us. We expect that je ne sais quoi, that extra element that really makes time valuable. And this, at the end of the day, is a real luxury.
Thank you. And these are all the questions I have in my pocket. So, I may leave the last remarks to you in the last round.
This was my last. So now the last
Well,
goes
for
to
me,
Maribel. Thank you very much.
Basically, the alignment between the public and the private sector is very important. Having a long-term vision, putting the destinations in the center, and of course, don't forget about your inhabitants, citizens. And I think we are living in the best period of our sector's history, and we keep growing, and we need to keep it stronger and passionate about it, and try and attract all this talent and have prescriptors all around the globe about how good it is to work with us. So yeah, this is what I would like to just leave there, convince people to come to us.
So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.